Hey, this is Matt with Off-Road Adventures, and just wanted to talk a little bit about my Husky FE my FE 501. I've had it for just over a year, for about 14 months. This particular bike has 2,400 miles on it, or 126 hours on this bike. Just wanted to give you the positive things that I have about this bike. I live in Arizona, so there was a lot of times that I'm transferring from a single track across down a big sandy wash to another single track, and it was always nice to be on a 450 because you hit these big washes and wow, you just get on top of that sand and you get to that next trail, and then it goes back down to not needing a 450, needing a 250 power, and that manageable and controllable on that 250. So like I said, the majority of my trails are really tight single track. Not super technical, I mean they are, but not big giant step ups, 4 or 5 foot step ups. We're talking, a foot step ups or big boulders that you're navigating or hopping over. Some good grades on it, but nothing crazy, single track, stuff like that. I really have to say, after putting 126 hours on this bike, I'm really impressed with this Husky 501. And some of the things that I did do to it to just make it a little bit more manageable for me. Personal things that I really like to do. So from this, I got the tuner, got the F1F pipe, put the recluse on it, all really fast after I bought this bike. Things that I normally do to another one of my Japanese bikes. Another thing that I like to run is a flex bar. So because I run a recluse and I don't have to pull the clutch in every time I climb a hill or take a turn or to stop, I can run a left-hand rear brake and rear brake and have a hydraulic clutch. So what I do is I take a hydraulic clutch perch. I run a 72-inch steel braided line from the clutch perch all the way back to my rear brake, and that's how I build my own left-hand rear brake. Again, most bikes haven't ever failed. 72 inches hydraulic line. I think it works out phenomenal that way. I love it. That way I can actually, put my right foot down and still be able to brake around a corner, still tail drag around a sharp downhill right-hand turn. I really enjoy that. Again, a recluse. Don't get me wrong, this 501 has enough power on the top end to scare the crap out of you if you want it, but it hits more like a 254 stroke down low, where it's very manageable and controllable at that low revving tractor-like power. It is not quite as snappy, not as lurchy as, let's say, an MX bike that's making incredible power extremely fast and on a trail going over bumps and rocks and things like that. That's a characteristic that is not desirable for a trail bike. So it's kind of the best of both worlds that I see. I didn't spend a ton of money trying to detune this bike like I did the MX bikes. That's really it. I mean, this bike, other than the tuner, a recluse, and the flex bars, I didn't do anything on the suspension. I set my sag, of course, for my weight. And other than that, the bike is right off the shelf. Fantastic. Suspension, smooth, supple, beautiful. I haven't had any concerns with my suspension. Once I set up the sag, for me, it's been good. Anything else? 120 hours. The airbox, getting into the airbox is right underneath this plate. It pulls off. Really nice, not having to pull a seat off. dig in there and get that your air cleaner out. My favorite bike before getting this bike was actually a Yamaha YZ250 FX. So that's more that enduro bike, racing enduro bike. I really thought that FX 250 by Yamaha was like spot on, the best that I have found before getting this bike, before getting into the Husky. I guess that's my one tip is it's really cheap insurance to clean your air filter. Anytime you think of it, just clean your air filter and change your oil all the time. I mean, it's super cheap insurance. I use no toil on my air filters. I love that stuff. I found that, again, I don't want to repeat myself a bunch, but I probably found that 16 years ago, and I have been using no toil on everything. It is so easy. You can wash your air filter in your bathroom sink. It's awesome. So kitchen sink, bathroom sink, you put their detergent in it that it comes with the kit. You wash it in your sink. It's biodegradable. I'm on a septic tank. Don't even have to worry about that. I can flush it right down the sink into the septic system. It's not hurting my septic system at all. Super easy. So I would highly recommend ditching all the other, harsh chemicals that you have to use on other brands and going with the no toil and their system. If you come into a pinch and you don't have their detergent, you actually can use OxyClean. So it doesn't work quite as well, but it does work. So that's just a really quick tip that I do. Oil changes, I do mine every 12 hours. So every 12 hours I do an oil change, and I would have to say probably every 4 hours I probably do a filter clean, because it's just so easy. So one evening, wash it, let it dry next day, oil it with no toils oil, let that dry for a few hours, and then throw it back in your bike. So super easy. I guess very impressed with the Husky 501/KTM 500. This is the one that it didn't have mirrors and brake lights and stuff like that. It does have a headlight and a back, not really a brake light. That's just the bike that I went with. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend a 501. Controllable like a 250. Hits at the top end like a 450. Best bike in between. So I hope I have this bike for a long time. Again, 120 hours on this top end or on this bike. No need to open the engine up at any time soon. It doesn't feel like I've lost any power. It's still awesome. So I'm hoping to get double those hours and more. So I'm hoping to get 240, 250, 250 hours on this original motor, or original top end before I crack it open. It's been great. So again, my name was Matt, and thanks for following me on my outdoor adventures. Thank you, and have a good night.